Well, that sucked. I mean, I loved Legends House. The episode 1 was a little shaky, with the guys all coming into the house and how everybody trying to explain who everybody was, even though we knew who everybody was. But, episode 2 through the last episode was really great when, the guys came into the house and they all had a purpose for what they were going to do today. They went out, they had a mission of some sort of a game or event, then they had a reward, and then you just saw them chilling at the house. Every show sort of had 3 parts that went along with each other, and we got to see how all these guys interacted. And I know they went through 3 weeks of shooting this show in order to get this done, but this was mostly revolved around a lunch dinner at a steakhouse, and it was revolved around some sort of a outing to a bar where they took the bar over, and somehow they had an audience of people watching them have a little show to go along with it, and then them sitting around waiting for their calls in order to go. There was a lot of things that I took away from Legends House. With the guys dancing on stage in Las Vegas with the shirtless dudes, them doing LARPing, that was hysterical. Them doing their stupid local commercials. All of those were really, really fun things. And I can honestly say that, for all the episodes except for the episode tonight, I enjoyed them. I felt like I was watching a show that had a purpose. Tonight's show just seemed like I was driving down a dead-end road that was going to go nowhere, just trying to get to the end just to see what was going to be there. When they went to the steakhouse, they probably filmed, I don't even know how long they would have had to been there in order to film this. We never saw them even order food. They just sort of sat there and they drank and they all shared stories, and they were all trying to, butter up Pat Patterson to get off his chest what he was trying to get off his chest the night before. And, Jimmy Hart told the story about his daughter dying that he shared with Tony Atlas at the end of last week's episode. Hacksaw Jim Duggan talked about being in a car wreck, and I couldn't tell if it was his daughter or if his wife. Somebody either got really hurt or they died. I couldn't remember what it was, where they got ran off a road and they flipped over 2.5, 3 times. And Roddy Piper just sort of sit back and listened. Howard Finkel talked about how he was bullied as a kid and how, he found success and he got to show all those people that, kicked him when he was down, that he made it in life and that, he was better off than they were. That got a big pop from everybody. And then Pat Patterson shared his secret that his partner that he's been with the last 40 years had passed away from a heart attack, and he was alone. But he wasn't going to be down anymore. He was to celebrate what he had been through. And all the guys were really relieved that he was able to get that off his chest, and they can start living their real lives. On the last day, everybody packed their bags and waited for them to get picked up one by one by limousines. The only thing that I was thinking of is that, I know all these guys want to seem like they're big stars. They're all going to the same fucking, they're all going to LAX. Why didn't they just put more of them in one limousine? Why did they have to leave one by one? Why did they have to get 6, 7 limousines in order to get all these guys there? But everybody got left. Roddy Piper was the last guy to get picked up, and he was the guy who sort of shared the closing speech about, saying that he came to Legends House sort of thinking that it was just going to be a stupid TV show. They asked him to do it was going to be a payday, and that he wasn't going to learn anything. And, everybody, came up there with their fists up, as a wrestler, and everybody left, learning a whole lot about each other. Hacksaw Jim Duggan and Tony Atlas had heat going into this. And then after this is all done, it's pretty much all squashed and bothered. Hacksaw Jim Duggan and Roddy Piper bonded together and became, real close friends. Friendships between guys who already were friends, like Pat Patterson and Mean Gene Okerlund, grew stronger. I will say that I think I've met a lot of the people on Legends House and going to different Access events. It's always nice to meet Roddy Piper. I've met him twice. I've met Howard Finkel twice, Pat Patterson twice. I've never met Tony Atlas. I've never met Mean Gene Okerlund. Even though I stood in his line, I was trying to figure out why I didn't meet him. Either he left or I got out of the line for something else. But Hillbilly Jim has now become one of the biggest legends He does a lot of the WrestleMania Access shows. He's going to be one of the guys that tops my list. I know that a lot of people looked at me kind of weird with my WrestleMania Access wish list. This year going into it, I wanted to meet Ziggler. Wanted to meet Three-Man Dan, and I wanted to meet the Funkadactyls. That was my top 3, and my only 3 going in, besides for my VIP with Hulk Hogan and Ric Flair. But I got to meet all 3 of those. Now Hillbilly Jim is going to be at the top of that list, and I think that would be a cool dude to meet and get a picture with, and share a few seconds with. He seems like one of the coolest dudes out there. But this show really let me down. They started out, as they were telling stories around the steakhouse, being some sort of a greatest hit show. Everybody admitted it cheating at the Newlywed Game. Everybody talked about knocking somebody out at the LARPing competition. There was one funny moment when Mean Gene Okerlund made the real stiff drink for Ashley trying to get in his pants, get in her pants. I thought that was pretty funny, and Ashley telling Mean Gene Okerlund that she was going to be shit-faced in a little bit. Ashley's a babe. I know this was filmed a long time ago. She's not hosting the reunion special, which is going to be next week. Hopefully she'll be on it. I'm not 100% sure she will be. I know there's rumors of Ric Flair either joining the cast or creating a new cast for season 2 of this show. Who knows if Ashley's going to come back, but her getting out of the pool in that yellow bikini make me view in every time. This week's episode is a down way to leave us. Hopefully the reunion show, even though they're probably going to do the same thing they did in this show and just talk about the stories and what it's been like, give updates on what they've been doing in the last 2 to 3 years. The people that they picked on this show were safe. But, it could have been something like, Roddy Piper has sort of had a falling out with WWE as of late. They still used him this year. He was on the WrestleMania 30 show, shaking hands with Mr. T and Hulk Hogan. It was kind of weird seeing that he took the WrestleCon booking over WrestleMania Access, which is sort of like a staple at being there, for years and years and years. And Piper's even come out and said that, he and Vince, although they're close, they're not as close as they once were. There was something that broke them off along the way. And it's just good that, one of these guys isn't on the major outs of the company, or maybe it has passed away or something like that, because everybody's still with us. The reunion special won't be so bad. But, for whatever week this is of, total divas, but this is Legends House. This is a bad way to end it. It wasn't the best show they've done. They've done better, and hopefully season 2 will be here sooner than later. WWE Network has their first show ending. Let's see what they do to replace it.